الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له شهادة عبده وابن عبده وابن أمته ومن لا غنى به طرفة عين عن رحمته. وأصلي وأسلم على خير هاد مبعوث رحمة للعالمين محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله ومن والاه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Inshallah, before we start, we just like to welcome brother Rafiq, and we are fortunate, inshallah, to have him here with us, and inshallah this da'wah will have strong acid to it, and it will we will start doing big job down here in South Florida, and as you all know, it's really needed to bring people to the right understanding of this deen and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قال المصنف, and we're still in باب الرضاع and breastfeeding. قال المصنف رحمه الله: ولو أرضعت إحدى امرأتيه الطفلة 5 رضعات 3 من لبنه و2 من لبن غيره صارت أما لها وحرمتا عليه وحرمت الطفل على الرجل الآخر على التأبيد. This part still talking as last time about the scenarios of a woman breastfeeding a child that is not hers, and we talked about what spreads and what causes that it leads to. So here he gives another scenario, and he said a man, let's call him for example Ali, and is married to a woman, and this woman breastfeed a child. She breastfeed a child from Ali's, let's call the woman Hind, and this Hind feeds a child from Ali's milk, gives him, let's say, two breastfeedings. But before she married Ali, she was married to someone else who divorced her. But after the divorce and after her iddah, she was still having milk. Is that possible? Let's say she was in the 7th month pregnant with this man's child, and then when he divorced her, and you know the iddah of a pregnant woman is giving birth. Her iddah ends at giving birth. So after she gave birth, 2 months later, her iddah was over. So the milk she has really belongs to the first man, the husband who she was divorced. So she saw a child and she breastfed this child, let's say, 3 times. Then she got married to Ali. Okay? Later on she got married to Ali, the milk dried out, and now she's pregnant from Ali, and the milk she has belongs to Ali. She breastfed the same baby, another 2. So now this baby becomes hers. That's her child through breastfeeding, isn't it? She gave him 5. But he's neither the son of, here he says the example, طفلة, a child, a girl child. So this baby, this girl, neither the child of the man who divorced her, or the child of the man she's married to now. Because neither one of them, she did not eat 5 complete breastfeedings from a milk that belongs to either one, but collectively, and we said it has to be 5. But is this baby, this girl, her child or not? Yes, her baby through breastfeeding. Now, if this is the case, he said, من لبن غيره صارت أما لها وحرمتا عليه. Now the fact that this girl, this baby, is Ali's wife, Hind, her mom, and if he has a contract, a marriage contract with this baby, now they both become haram. Why? Because his wife and her daughter. Now with the wife, the reason she has milk from him, that means he consummated the marriage. So the fact that he consummated the marriage, she becomes haram and her daughters become haram. But if it was only a contract, he did not consummate the marriage with the mother, then the daughter is still permissible for him, as we have established before. But the fact that he consummated the marriage with this girl, then both become haram for him to continue in marriage, and haram forever. He has to divorce, or this marriage is null to this woman, Hind, and he cannot marry the girl when she grows up at all, because that's his daughter, or her daughter, his wife's daughter. Right. Then he said, وحرمت الطفل على الرجل الآخر على التأبيد. Who's the الرجل الآخر? The one who divorced Hind. Now this baby is haram for him. It's haram for him to marry her. Why? Because she's the daughter of his ex-wife. And since he consummated the marriage with the ex-wife, her daughter becomes haram, becomes like his daughter. قال المصنف رحمه الله وإن لم تكن الطفلة امرأة له لم ينفسخ نكاح المرضعة. Now, if this baby, there was no marriage contract between him and the girl, then the fact that his wife breastfed her, it does not break the marriage, because there was no contract between him and the girl, just like anyone else. That's understood. قال المصنف ولو تزوجت امرأة طفلا فأرضعته 5 رضعات حرمت عليه وانفسخ نكاحها. Now he gives you another scenario, and that is a woman married, she gets divorced, she has milk, she gets married to a child, they do a contract, marriage contract with a baby. Now someone will say, this it doesn't happen, but this is scenarios that the ulama address and think about just in case. For example, someone will say, why would someone have a contract with a baby? For example, a woman decides to adopt a child, boy. Now adoption, with restrictions, is allowed. To sponsor, to guard. So she says, if he stays with me, once he grows up and once he reaches the age of puberty, I cannot be alone with him. I cannot be exposed, because he's not mahram. So either they marry her to him, or she breastfeed him. So when he grows up, he's her child or husband. Right? So a woman who was married got divorced, and she has milk from the husband who divorced her, and she does a contract on a child. They tell her there's a child, orphan, no one, keep him, and do marriage contract, for example. So she goes, they do the marriage contract, then she goes breastfeed him. 5. Now he becomes her child. So the contract is null. This marriage contract is null, because this person becomes her child. That's what he is saying. Now, قال مصنف وحرمت على صاحب اللبن تحريما مؤبدا لأنها صارت من حلائل أبنائه. طيب. Now this woman who was divorced, she breastfed this child from the milk of the man who divorced her. Let's say Hind married to Ali. Ali divorces Hind. Hind goes and she breastfeed this child, a baby, 5 times. Okay? Now she becomes what? His mother. طب Ali? His father. With the scenario we mentioned that she was married to the child and then divorced, or the contract is null because of the breastfeeding, can she go back to Ali? Can she marry Ali again?
She can.
She can?
Yeah, because he's the father anyway.
No.
Can Hind go back to Ali?
No, because the contract was breached. The contract was breached, wasn't it?
Yes, he divorced her.
Right.
But now, let's say he divorced her once and her iddah passed. But now they talk, they want to go back to each other after the scenario that took place.
Yes.
He cannot. And the reason for that, because once she breastfed that child was her husband, remember? And then she breastfed him, he became her son. So the contract is null. But now she cannot go back to marry Ali because Ali is the father of the child. And it's not allowed for a man to marry his child wife or ex-wife. When the contract became null, because she was married to his son. If a woman is married to your son and then he divorces her, you cannot marry her. وَحَلَائِلُ أَبْنَائِكُمْ. You cannot marry your son's ex-wife. So since that child becomes his son through breastfeeding, and since this Hind was at one moment married to his son, and then the contract becomes null, then he cannot marry her again. You see that the little complication, but that is what the ulama talk. Why they talk about these things? Just in case. They said when the issue rises, people need answers right away, especially in those issues. So we cannot just wait when they happen and then we start thinking and trying to figure out. So we assume and propose these issues. So when they rise, we have answers ready, and this is ilm, this is knowledge that, and also to make the students of knowledge think and try to explore and see the beauty of fiqh. يقول المؤلف now all this he's talking about the milk, the relation, the effect will happen to the guy who's giving the milk, the guy who owns the milk, the husband. Now we're going to talk about the effect to other people from a milk or milk from different guy. So he said, قال المصنف رحمه الله فصل في تحريم النكاح وفسخه بسبب الرضاع ولو تزوج رجل كبيرة ولم يدخل بها وصغيرة فأرضعت الكبيرة الصغيرة حرمت الكبيرة وثبت نكاح الصغيرة وإن كانتا صغيرتين فأرضعتهما الكبرى حرمت الكبرى وانفسخ نكاح الصغيرتين وله نكاح من شاء من الصغيرتين وإن كن 3 فأرضعتهن منفردات حرمت الكبرى وانفسخ نكاح المرضعتين أولا وثبت نكاح الثالثة وإن أرضعت إحداهن منفردة واثنتين بعدها معا انفسخ نكاح الثلاث وله نكاح من شاء منهن منفرد وإن كان دخل بالكبرى حرم الكل عليه على الأبد ولا مهر للكبرى وإن كان لم يدخل بها وإن كان قد دخل بها فلها مهرها وعليه نصف مهر الأصاغر يرجع به على الكبرى. Do I need to explain? طيب, let's go. Now, this whole scenario that he mentioned, a man does or has marriage contract. Ali, let's go back to a new example, but the same names. Ali proposes and have a marriage contract with Hind, but just the contract. Okay, he did not consummate the marriage, just the contract. Hind was married to another man, he divorced her, her iddah is over, but she has milk, yani from that man's son, pregnancy or whatever. Now he does the contract with Hind, and he does another contract with a child, let's say Sumayya. So now he has two contracts, Hind and Sumayya. Hind al-Kubra, yani the older. Sumayya is a baby. The first scenario he's mentioning, he said Fatima or Hind breastfeed Sumayya. Okay? Breastfeed her. Yani the same scenario, they found her, marriage, whatever the issue is. So she breastfeed her 5 times. Now, is this milk belonging to Ali or not? It's not. So this child, this Sumayya, will not become his daughter, because it's not his milk, clear. But becomes who? Hind's daughter. Forget about the ex-husband. He's out of the picture. Becomes Hind's daughter. So now he has a contract of marriage between a woman and her daughter. Such contract, you cannot combine a woman and her daughter. So the contract, both of them are null. Now, which one he can still marry? The daughter. Why?
Because we established that rule.
Because he did not consummate the marriage. So if someone has a contract on a woman, just the contract, marriage contract, 2 witnesses, the mahr, the wali, all that, and then they did not agree, they did not consummate the marriage, and they did not live together, all that, and he breaks the contract, he can still go and marry her daughter. But if he was the same scenario was with the daughter. If he had a contract with the daughter, never consummated the marriage, and he leaves her, he divorces her, he tells her it's not working out, but he never consummated the marriage, he can never marry the mother. So the fact here that he had a contract with the mother, with her daughter, without consummation of anything, this contract, when she becomes the daughter, and he has those 2 contracts, they both fall down. No. But yet he still has the right to go and propose to the daughter. But he can never marry the mother, the older one, again. That example is clear. Then he said, يعني the other opinion that he goes with is the contract of the older one, the mother, is null, but the contract of the daughter lasts. But some of the ulama, and stronger opinion actually, that combining a daughter and a mother at the same time breaks both contracts. Then you have the choice and the option to remarry the daughter. وإن كانتا صغيرتين فأرضعتهما الكبرى حرمت الكبرى وانفسخ نكاح الصغيرتين. طيب, now let's see how smart you guys are. Now he marries the old one. Now all this scenario I'm mentioning without consummation, so I don't need to repeat. He did not consummate the marriage. Yani the little ones he cannot anyway, but the older one he did not consummate, just a contract. So now he has a contract with the older, and instead of having a second contract, he goes with little ones, he goes with 2 new contracts. So he has 3 contracts. So with Hind, with Sumayya, and another little girl, let's say Fatima. The older one comes and breastfeeds those 2 little girls. So now those 2 little girls become what to her? Her daughters. Okay? So that means, again, the same scenario as before, you cannot have a mother and daughters. But in this situation he said, all the contracts break down. He did not say the contract of the young one lasts. And why did he say that?
Because he cannot combine between 2 sisters.
Because between Hind and the 2 little girls, mother and 2 daughters. So the mother he can never marry the mother again, because he has contract with the daughter. so the mother is out of the picture. But now having two sisters through breastfeeding, they're not sisters by blood, through breastfeeding because they were breastfed by the same woman, a man cannot be married to two sisters at the same time. So now their both contracts are null. Can he choose after that between the two daughters and the old one? Yeah? No, the old one he can never marry again.
The young one.
Yeah, the young one he can choose. Alright. واضحة؟ طيب. وإن كن ثلاثا فأرضعتهن منفردات حرمت الكبرى وانفسخ نكاح المرضعتين أولا وثبت نكاح الثالث. Now, the third scenario, married to an old one, the same Hind, then he goes and he never married, he goes marry for at once. One older and the three are little ones. So the older one, Hind, comes, Sumayya, Fatima and Maryam. So he goes, this Hind comes, breastfeed Sumayya. Then she breastfeed Fatima. Munfaridat, separate. Then she goes and breastfeed Maryam. His opinion saying, when she does that, her contract, Hind, the older one, is null, because he's married to her daughter. The contract of the first one, Sumayya, and the second one, Fatima, is also null, because they're two sisters. And the contract of Maryam stays, because her mother and her sisters are out of the picture. But the other opinion, that all of their contracts are null. All of them. And then he chooses between the three girls. Just like that. Then he said, why he said separate? Does that mean if they're combined different? Yes, for him it's different. He said, وَإِنْ أُرْضِعَتْ إِحْدَاهُنَّ مُنْفَرِدَةً وَاثْنَتَيْنِ بَعْدَهَا مَعًا انْفَسَخَ نِكَاحُ الثَّلَاثِ. He said, if Hind comes and breastfeed Sumayya by herself, so now the contract between Hind and Sumayya and Ali is null. Why? A mother, a daughter, and a man. Then she goes and she breastfeeds the last two together. So the last two, Sumayya and Maryam, became sisters at the same time. So here he's saying all of their contracts are null. That is right. And then he chooses between the three. But the difference between him saying each one individually, he approved and he kept the contract of the third one, because he said the third one became the daughter for Hind after the contract between Ali and Hind broke, and after the contract between Ali and Fatima and Sumayya broke. So they were not daughters, and they were not, her sisters were not married to him at that moment when Hind breastfed her. Hind was not related to him anymore. You got it? That's why her contract lasted. In this situation, he said, Hind and Sumayya, the first one, is null because mother and daughter. And when the last two were breastfed at the same time, their contract is also null because they're two sisters under one man. And that's why they're null. That's why he said all the contracts are null. وإن كان دخل بالكبرى. Now scenarios if he consummated the marriage, and that makes it a little more complicated, or maybe simpler. حرم الكل عليه على الأبد. If he simpler. If he consummated the marriage with Hind, the other ones are little, he cannot touch them. He consummated the marriage with Hind, and Hind went and breastfed these three girls that he had contract with. Okay? Because we said a girl under 7 and under 9, her wali makes decisions for her. And you find this, some habits in the between some tribes, that when someone's daughter is born, to make sure that she's gonna have a husband in case he dies, in case they get attacked, he gets killed. He wants to have good, he wants to guarantee future for her, be protected. So he marries her to a man. But then when she gets older, that's when the whole thing takes effect. But anyway, so Hind went and breastfed those three. But he had consummated the marriage with Hind. But when she goes and she breastfeed those three girls, what happened? Everyone becomes haram forever. Because now those are the daughters of a woman that he consummated the marriage. So once you consummate the marriage, this woman's daughters become haram forever. Actually, they become your daughters. وَحَلَائِلُ وَرَبَائِبُكُمْ اللَّاتِي فِي. Okay? So that is the issue. So if he consummated the marriage with Hind, and she breastfed the whole world, all the girls, little girls in the world, all these girls become haram for this man to marry. Because these are his daughters through breastfeeding. Not his daughters, his wife's daughters that he consummated the marriage with. Because if he never consummated the marriage with a woman and he divorced her, he can still go and marry her daughters. That's we established. All right. All that we talked about. Now, he finished with this issue, the breastfeeding. Now he starts with al-mahr. Now these women that he had contract with, they have mahr. So what happens when this contract becomes null? When breaks, when he divorces them? They're entitled for their mahr still. So how is that distributed? يقول المؤلف ولا مهر للكبرى إن كان لم يدخل بها. When you marry a woman, you do the contract, but you never consummate the marriage. You never had intercourse with the woman, and you divorce her. She is entitled for half the mahr. If you consummate the marriage, she is entitled for the whole mahr. Clear. So we need to establish that. So now when he never consummated the marriage with Hind, the old one, here he's saying وَلَا مَهْرَ لِلْكُبْرَى إِنْ كَانَ لَمْ يَدْخُلْ بِهَا. Now if you do not consummate the marriage, she's entitled for how much? Half. But here Shaykh al-Islam ibn Qudam rahimahullah is saying she is not entitled to anything. Why is that? Because when she breastfeeds that little girl, she becomes haram for him, as we said. Now since the contract is null and he was only married to her without consummation, she's entitled to have the mahr. But here he's saying she's not. That is the right thing. She's not. Why is that?
And the contract on the daughters of the woman.
No.
You can't go back to her.
No.
He's married to her daughter.
Doesn't matter.
It's like if that marriage should never have taken place.
No. That marriage never took place. Why she's haram?
It became haram for him.
No, it became no, but it was existing at 1 minute. There's a qaida and a rule in fiqh that if someone causes a loss, someone causes an issue, and he's entitled for something because of this cause, then he loses that privilege. In other words, who was the reason for Hind to be divorced? Hind. She's the one who went breastfed these daughters, those kids. So since she was the reason for the destruction of her marriage, she is not entitled for the mahr, for the half of the mahr. Just like that. This is a rule. يعني, you know, if I cause something, I might get some money. يعني, for example, someone said, my father dies, I'll inherit. So how are we going to get rid of my father? Kill him. Now you were the one who killed the father, who caused the death of the father to gain the inheritance. You are forbidden from any inheritance. You are not entitled. Of course you will be killed, or you will be thrown in jail, but that's a different issue. But the issue is you are not entitled for that inheritance because you were the one causing that. Because now there is an interest. Clear? Very clear. So since Hind, the older wife, caused the break of her own marriage because she breastfed that little girl, she lost the privilege for her half of her mahr. Clear? That's why he said, وَلَا مَهْرَ لِلْكُبْرَى إِنْ كَانَ لَمْ يَدْخُلْ. That's if he did not consummate the marriage. Alright? Just to read القاعدة هو أن كل من أفسد نكاح امرأة قبل الدخول فإن الزوج له أن يرجع بالمهر عليه. In other words, anyone causes a marriage to be broken, then the husband has the right, the right to put this person responsible for what he has to pay. So in this scenario, it was the wife who caused the damage of the destruction of the marriage, so she doesn't get anything. But if it was someone else who caused, and we will come into at that, if it was someone else who caused the divorce, someone else did something and caused the divorce, and this woman still, she wasn't the one who caused the divorce, the wife, she's still entitled for half of the mahr. The husband pays half of the mahr, and he goes back to that person who caused the divorce to make him responsible about that money. So the rule is, anyone causes divorce before consummation, then becomes accountable to pay what caused the husband. Clear? So since Hind was the one who breastfed these kids, and she broke her own marriage, she led to the breakage of her own marriage, then she is not entitled to that money, because he pays her and she has to give it back to her. Alright? Okay. يقول المؤلف وإن كان قد دخل بها. Now what do you think if he consummated the marriage? The whole thing? Half?
Yes.
But she's the one who caused the damage, the marriage to be broken too. She went and she breastfed those little girls. لها النصف. She has half. طيب مين يزيد? Who gives more? If she does that after the marriage, after the consummation, does she breaks her own marriage or not? Or she stays his wife? Of course she breaks, because now he's married to a mother and her daughters. But what happens to the little girls? He can never marry them as well. She is entitled for the whole thing. Why is that? And what is different between here and the rule that we mentioned? Because already the marriage is consummated. That rule was before consummation. Now the marriage is consummated. So why is he subjected to pay the whole mahr, and she has the right to have the whole mahr? Okay? Because what the husband pays for is having that woman under him. Yani the fact that a woman gives the right for a man to sleep with her, that's his wife. Yani in halal, she right away becomes, once the marriage is consummated, she is entitled for the whole marriage, for the whole mahr. Whatever happens after that, even if she was the cause for the breakage or the destruction of the marriage, because the reason for mahr now is completely different reason. She did not cheat on him about the marriage. She did not tell him something else. She did not fool him about the marriage. So he consummated, because there are some scenarios she's gonna lie, he's gonna marry her, and then this marriage is null because she did not tell him the truth. We'll give an example in a little bit. So the fact she did not lie, everything went straight, and he consummated the marriage, she's entitled. Once the marriage is consummated, due to the consummation of the marriage, the woman becomes entitled for the whole mahr. That's why she gets the whole mahr. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فلها المهر بما استحل من فرجها. She has the mahr because he slept with her. That's it. She's entitled for the full thing. If you remember, this hadith came in a longer hadith where أيما امرأة أنكحت نفسها فنكاحها باطل 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 ولها المهر بما استحل من فرج. Even if the marriage was invalid because she was her own wali, the Prophet ﷺ said her nikah is invalid, but she's still entitled for al-mahr, the whole thing, because he consummated the marriage, because it was shubha. Yani she thought, or they thought it was okay, but it wasn't. But if she knew that it wasn't okay, and he knew it wasn't okay, and she knew, like, of course, even if he sleeps with her, she's not, that's zina. But because there was misunderstanding, she's still entitled for her mahr. Okay. يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ. أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ يعني you had intercourse with each other, and that is what makes the woman deserving the mahr. Once this takes place, then she becomes entitled for the whole mahr. Clear? Alright. That's why it has nothing to do with her causing the breakage of the marriage, because she breastfed, because it happened after. And the mahr after consummation has to do with the consummation. Okay? يقول المؤلف وعليه نصف مهر الأصاغر. طيب, about those little girls, does he have to pay any mahr? Huh? Half. Because he had the contract, never consummated because he couldn't. But now the marriage contract is over, so they're entitled for half. So he has to pay each one half of the mahr. وَيُرْجَعُ بِهِ عَلَى كُبْرَى. But who caused the breakage of those three contracts to these three daughters? The one who breastfed them. So who now is responsible? Hind. So he pays those three, they're half of their mahr, and he goes to get it from Hind. So Hind gets out of this in debt. Alright? She did not get anything. Huh? If the marriage was not consummated, and now she has to pay for the three. Someone might ask, when they were two sisters, remember in the scenario that first she breastfed Fatima, Sumayya by herself, and that contract is invalid. Then the other two were fed together, Fatima and Maryam, and because they're sisters, their marriage is invalid, right? Someone might ask, if someone is not Muslim, this happened with the Sahaba, if someone is not Muslim and he's married to two sisters and he becomes Muslim, what do we tell him? Choose one. We don't tell him you re-establish your contract. Both of them you divorce them and then you choose whoever. We tell him you choose one. Like, why in this scenario we said both of them are not wives anymore, and then he can marry whoever he wants? You understand the difference? Why when the person was kafir and becomes Muslim, we don't tell him both of these women haram now and you have to divorce them and then marry one of them? We told him just choose one of them and the contract continues. You don't need a new contract. But with this we say no, both of them are divorced and then you choose whoever you want with a new contract.
He had good intention. He didn't know number one, number two, don't know.
Khalas. You said it. He doesn't know the hukm. He didn't know it was haram to marry two sisters when he was kafir. Now he knows. We give him the option. But the Muslim should know that it's haram to have two sisters. Got it? وَأَن تَجْمَعُوا بَيْنَ الْأُخْتَيْنِ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ. طيب? That's good. Now, قال المصنف رحمه الله ولو دبت الصغرى إلى الكبرى وهي نائمة فارتضعت منها 5 رضعات حرمتها على الزوج ولها نصف مهرها عليه يرجع به على الصغرى إن كان قبل الدخول، وإن كان بعده فلها مهرها كله لا يرجع به على أحد ولا مهر للصغرى. ولو نكح امرأة ثم قال هي أختي من هذه يعني مسألة at the end. But here he said now that he married the old one and married the little one, the old one sleeping. This little دبت يعني crawled until she got to the one who's sleeping and she breastfed from her while she's sleeping. Okay. So here he said 5 رضعات يعني she fulfilled the condition. حرمتها على الزوج. What happens to the woman who's sleeping? If he has contract marriage to both, and this little one went and breastfed from this woman who's sleeping, what happens to the woman sleeping? Haram. يعني the same scenario whether this one breastfed or this one was breastfed. But the difference here, okay, is this older one has entitled for half the mahr. But in the first scenario she wasn't. Why she's now entitled? She's not the one who caused the divorce. Who's causing the divorce? The little one. That means the little one is not entitled for any mahr. But her contract is also no. She is responsible too for the half of the mahr for the other. Something like that. She's responsible and she is. يعني she's not رفع القلم عن 3. She did not reach the age where she's held accountable for her actions. So how can we say she has يعني تضمن, she has to be responsible about the half of the mahr? Okay. What was she in this scenario? Why she has to guarantee the money that was paid to the older one? She was the cause. Just take the cause. When we talk about taklif, يعني to be accountable, there is taklif, the thing that we all know, يعني واجب, مكروه, مستحب, مباح, haram. These wajibat have to do with reaching the age of being mukallaf, of being responsible and held accountable, and that is, the ulama said, the age of puberty. In this scenario, it's not any of those. What she did has nothing to do with this. It has to be a cause. So when we talk about, and those called the taklif al-wad'i, when we talk about those things, cause, الاقتضاء, يعني if a little child kills someone, he's still responsible for الدية. He has to pay. His awliya have to pay. You understand? Even if his child, if your child goes and pokes someone's eye, you're still responsible. Okay? الرخص, all these things have different حكم. This is يعني in أصول الفقه, but have different, separate than halal, haram, mubah, and makruh and wajib. Okay, that's why this child, even if she still did not reach the age of puberty, she's still responsible from different view, not from the view of الواجبات يعني التكاليف. All right, that's why she's responsible for that half of the mahr. That's if he did not consummate the marriage with the older. What if he consummated the marriage with the older? Is she entitled for the full mahr? Of course. She was entitled when she caused. Don't you think she will be entitled when she's not? But is this little one responsible about paying the mahr? No. Why? Because either way he has to pay it for consummating the marriage. So she's not responsible for that. That's why he said, وإن كان بعده فلها مهرها كله لا يرجع به على أحد ولا مهر للصغرى. Still there is no mahr for the little one. Okay, that's very clear. Now he talks about the issue of claiming. Man married to a woman, she claims, you know, you're my brother through breastfeeding. Or he says, you're my sister through breastfeeding. So what happens in those scenarios? That's what he's going to address. Yani a woman sick of her husband, or a man sick of his wife, he doesn't want to divorce her, he tells, oh, you know what, you're my sister through breastfeeding. Just to get out of it. Alright? So it's very important to understand what's the protocol. يقول المؤلف ولو نكح امرأة ثم قال بعد العقد هي أختي من الرضاعة فسخ نكاح. Okay? A man has a marriage contract with a woman. After the contract is established, he said, you're my sister through I found out you're my sister through breastfeeding. Right away the contract is null. That's it. They're divorced. Okay? Right away. Because once he confessed and once he confirms, that's it. Okay? There is no time for, no space or place for argument. He confessed. What's more than that? Yani confession is the biggest proof. The strongest proof. يقول ولها المهر إن كان دخل بها. So if he had consummated the marriage and then he found out that's his sister through breastfeeding, right away that marriage is null. But because he slept with her with shubha and with wrong understanding or did not have knowledge, she is entitled for the full mahr. Clear? Okay. ولها نصفه إن كان لم يدخل بها ولم تصدق. If they do the contract, does not consummate the marriage, he says, you're my sister through breastfeeding. And that means the contract is null now. She's entitled for half, with one condition. As long as she says, I don't believe you. Why? Why her saying, he says, you're my sister through breastfeeding, she says, I don't think so. Because he confessed or he confirms, the marriage is null. We established that. But because she says, I don't believe you, but anyway the contract will be null, she's entitled for half. But if she says, I know, I believe what you're saying, no, she's not a cause. That means she knew. And the fact she knew, her contract was invalid in the first place. She cheated. Gharar. Alright? So when he comes to tell her, you're my, he found out. He does contract, marriage contract, no consummation yet. He comes to her, you know, I think this is over because I found out from so and so that she said she breastfed me and breastfed you. So you're my sister and through breastfeeding. So she goes and she says, oh, I knew that. So she said, knew that, she's not entitled for anything. She says, oh, I never knew that. So she never intended to fool him. So she's entitled for half of the mahr. Alright? That's why he said, وَلَمْ تُصَدَّقْ. يقول وإن صدقته قبل الدخول فلا شيء لها. So when he comes before they consummate, she says, yeah, I knew that. Nothing for her, because she knew it. So she should have stopped the contract in the first place. So maybe she continued the contract to gain some money, because she knows, I'm not going to let him sleep with me because he's my brother, but let me do the contract so when he finds out, I can get some money. So because she confirmed, now she can say, no, I did not know that. It's fine, that's between her and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Okay. Now, someone will say, he confirmed that she's his sister through breastfeeding. He confirmed. And she didn't. Yet she's still entitled for half the mahr. Why his confirmation was not enough to prevent any mahr? Who knows? I think I answered similar questions in the lecture.
Can you repeat again?
Okay. we said he found out and he's sure and confirmed that she's his sister through breastfeeding. So this will break the contract. She denies. Why is she still entitled for the mahr, half of the mahr, even though he confirmed?
He's not admitting it.
Does she have a good intention? He was aware.
Now, yes, but why his word is not enough to prevent her from the half of the mahr? Why we have to have her confirmation or her admittance?
Because she has no intention to call him.
طيب, she has no, but she's denying. Maybe there's a chance she's denying, but she knew. Why his confession and confirmation is not enough?
Because you need two. Because the plan of marriage was both sides.
Because such iqrar and confirmation from him, okay, has along with it some monetarily benefit. What that means? يعني him confirming that she is his sister through breastfeeding breaks the contract, right? And entitles her, as long as she did not confess, for half of the mahr. So the fact that if we say his confirmation is enough to prevent her from any mahr, that's benefit for him. True? Yani in other words, him confessing that she's his sister through breastfeeding, if we say that's enough to make her not entitled, to block her from half of the mahr, if he doesn't have to pay, is that monetarily benefit to him or not? Yes. So the fact there is second interest, there's another factor in the whole equation, that if we say his confession is enough, and as a result, if we say that's enough for him not to give her anything, he has some money, some benefit in return. You guys got it? Or difficult to understand? Okay. Just to give you an example. If someone comes and says, just let's do the rule, make it clear. The rule is, if my testimony will bring to me some monetarily benefit, then my testimony cannot be considered the only factor. We need more evidence, because my self-interest is in. There is, as they call it, conflict of interest. Now you understand conflict of interest? Because if we say his confession is enough to invalidate the marriage and make her not entitled for any money, then any man might go and claim that. So he doesn't have to pay any mahr. So if she does not confess with him as well, then we say she's entitled for the half of the mahr, because he has some kind of double interest in the whole scenario. So we're not sure now, is he 100% saying that because she is his sister through breastfeeding, or he's saying that so he wants to get out of the marriage and at the same time he doesn't want to pay. Got it? That's why his confession was not enough by itself. That's why she needed to confess as well. So the fact she denied, she was entitled. When she did not deny, he was not entitled to pay anything. Got it?
Even if you bring the strong proof,
Huh?
even if you found strong proof.
Oh, well, that's the strong proof. His confirmation, his confession. Even if he brings bayina.
So if he brings
Because she did not know. Okay? As long as she did not know, that's enough.
So if he brings from
Let's finish this because the time is coming for Isha. Now, what if she says, he's my brother through breastfeeding? Now he claimed. Now if she claims. If she claims, there are different situations. The first situation, if it was before the marriage, before the consummation, then the contract is over and she's not entitled for anything. Why?
Because she knew about it.
What if she didn't know? She found out. She was the cause of the destruction. And when you're the cause, you're not entitled for anything. Now, if it was after, she said, he is my brother. They consummate the marriage, then she said, he's my brother through breastfeeding. And he denied. فَأَكْذَبَهَا. He denied. What happens here? Does that break the marriage?
She knows that.
Alright. So the question becomes, is she entitled for mahar? He consummated.
But her confession alone is not enough.
No, but her confession has nothing to do with her paying. It's him paying. So she doesn't have second interest. The rule has to do with the one who gonna gain some benefit and admitting. Okay. If she has proof that he is her brother through breastfeeding, then the contract is no. But now the next question, now al-mahr. The next question is what? Exact. Did you know before the marriage, or before the contract, or you didn't know? So if she did not know and she found out after the consummation of the marriage, that means she's entitled for the mahr because it was shubha. Because they married each other thinking they're okay. So when she found out after the marriage, she did not cheat on him, she did not lie to him, she's entitled for the mahr. If she is asked, did you know before the marriage took place, the contract, and she says yes, a'udhu billah, that marriage, is she entitled? She's not, because that wasn't a marriage, that was zina. Because she knew that he is haram to sleep with her. He's her brother. Clear? Alright. Now, the second scenario, she doesn't have proof. So that's when she had proof. She had proof, he's her brother through breastfeeding. Before marriage, breaks the contract, that's it. She's not entitled for anything. After consummation, breaks the contract. If she knew before, she's not entitled. If she did not know until after the consummation, she's entitled for the whole mahr. Now here, if she doesn't have a proof, if it's before the consummation, obviously the marriage is null. Okay? And she's not entitled because she's the cause. If it happens after the consummation of the marriage and she still doesn't have a proof and he consummated the marriage, we tell her the same thing. Did you know before? If she didn't know, if she knew, she's not entitled for anything. No mahr. If كانت منكرة, if she said, I did not know until now, we said, you got the mahr. But what happened if he denies? Why it's important that he denies or not? No, because he's the one who divorced. Who's gonna divorce? He's the one who has the right, not her. She cannot divorce him. He's the one who needs to divorce her. But if he continues to deny and he's refusing to divorce, what's gonna happen now? No. خلاع. طيب. And that's what he exactly said, رحمه الله. He said, وإن كانت هي التي قالت هو أخي من الرضاع فأكذبها ولا بينة لها فهي امرأته في الحكم. يعني legally she's his wife. يعني she said, you're my brother-in-law. I don't have a proof. But my mother, before she died, she told me that. I don't have a proof. He said, I don't believe you. And the talaq is the right of the man. The man is the one who can say you're divorced. A woman cannot do that. He said, I don't believe you. She said, you are. He said, I don't believe you. فهو زوجها في الحكم. إيش يعني? Legally, he's still her husband. But what that means, she cannot allow him to touch her. Yeah. Because she believes that he's her brother. He doesn't believe that. He believes she is his wife. And legally, she is his wife because he did not divorce her yet. But she's not allowed to allow him to be alone with her or touch her. Or actually, they can be alone. Why? Because they're brothers and sisters. But she does not allow him to touch her in the way that a husband touches his wife. Okay, what happens then? He refuses to divorce. What does she do? Khulu. She pays for her freedom. She pays. She compensates him. And khulu, usually the wife or the woman pays the man what he gave her. To let her out. Compensate him. And that is her way out. If that's what he insisted. Because sometimes he refuses to divorce her. And he said, I don't want anything from you. I'm just not going to divorce her. So she goes khulu, and that's the end of it. Okay. Now. So very much this is the end of Bab al-Rada'. We finished with Bab al-Rada'. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us what we are ignorant of. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the truth. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.